So I listened to The Keeper of Happy Endings from Barbara Davis this week, and this is another dual timeline. I want to say romance because there is a lot of romance to it, but there's a lot of other themes explored, so I don't want to limit it to romance. So, dual timelines, the modern timeline follows Rory. How do I describe her? She is from the upper class lifestyle, but she doesn't quite live the upper class lifestyle. She is going to school, but she doesn't really love going to school. She's supposed to go to school and then go to Paris to do some internship, and then come back and work in a gallery and work up to owning her own gallery and all that. But she's not really into it. Now there is a reason for that, besides because she does love art and she is an artist in her own right, but the her fiance Huxley has disappeared. He went to Sudan, I think. Let me recheck my notes. I forgot to write it down. I think it's Sudan. And for Doctors Without Borders, and unfortunately he was captured. So now she is just in this pause in her life because she doesn't know what's going to happen in the future, because she doesn't know what has happened to her fiance. She only knows that he has disappeared. She doesn't know anything else. So she doesn't want to move on. So she's paused. And when I say modern time, and I put it in quotes, it's because it's really set in the 1980s, actually 1985, which is crazy to think that that's actually 40 years ago now. So not really modern anytime. But anyway, she ends up finding a building for a gallery. Her fiance Huxley was always encouraging her to pursue her own gallery instead of doing all the stuff that her mother wants her to do, the school, the internship, all that. So she finds a building, and the building leads her to Soline. And Soline is the owner of the building. She used to have a bridal shop in there and was known as the greatest dressmaker. Everybody wanted to have her dresses until there was a fire. And so she ends up renting the storefront from Celine, and finds a box. And in the box, it has this beautiful wedding dress and a man's shaving kit and a whole bunch of letters. And she is led to Celine that way. She meets up with her and they become friends, and she finds out Celine's story. So Celine is our past timeline. She was a girl growing up in Paris, France, right before and during the German occupation of World War II. And you get Celine's story of growing up, dealing with Paris when the Germans have taken over. Her mother also dies, and she also have a strenuous relationship, is I guess the best way you can phrase it. And then unfortunately her mother does die. Her father is not in the picture. No, I'm not gonna say that because it's not a big spoiler, but I'd rather not say it. I am gonna spoil something else though, so okay. Anyway, focusing. So she ends up with all this time because nobody's getting married, so no one needs the wedding dresses. Um, she ends up spending her time at a hospital, an American, English, French hospital for the soldiers, where she meets Ensemble. And I think I'm saying his name right. And so they fall in love. He eventually convinces her to leave Paris to keep her safe. He does say that he's going to marry her and that he loves her and everything, and sends her to the States to live in his father's house until he returns. And he ends up getting captured. and the father finds out that he's been captured and presumed dead. And the father never really liked Solene. He had his own plans for Enceinte, and so he kicks her out. So she thinks all this time he's dead. She's heartbroken, and she's telling Rory her story to help Rory through her own story with Huxley. Now, I really did enjoy the story. However, I wish I had gotten more information about Rory and Huxley's relationship. We do get some pieces here and there, but we don't go as in depth into it as we do with Solene and Enceinte. So I really felt more of Rory's story was kind of a portal to tell Solene's story. You still got her story of her making decisions for the gallery, her relationship with her mother, which is not very good, and them trying to figure each other out and how you can come together. There was, yeah, I'll spoil it. Okay, so spoiler warning if you don't want to hear this, scroll away. But at some point, Rory finds out that Enceinte is actually still alive, and she goes to meet him. And this is the part in the story where I don't love everything after this. And not in this particular point, but you get to the point in the story where he ends up showing up in Boston to speak to Rory, and then the book just like weirdly to me just tries to wrap everything up really quickly. And I feel like we were missing quite a few things in the book, like a couple of scenes that I thought would be really important to telling the story, and everything just kind of wrapped up a little too quickly for my taste. So it was a good book. I wanted some more. I don't want to get into everything just because I'm afraid it would spoil it, and I don't want to spoil it for everybody. I already gave a pretty big spoiler. So there you go. Cozy reading.